Okay, well, thank you so much for coming to today's UW System Virtual Career Trek featuring Northwind Solar and hosted by UW Stevens Point. Thanks to the Career Trek Committee from across the state for organizing these events for students to engage in their career exploration. There is an official registration form linked in the chat feature. We'll need to continue to place it there throughout our conversation today so that late arrivers can see it. Please click on that link so that we know who is in attendance today. Career Treks are a UW System initiative connecting students with regional employers. Treks have the support of the UW System and other state leaders who are deeply invested in retaining talent in our great state. There is a trek almost every Tuesday this semester, always at 2 p.m. You can also see previous career treks via recordings on the UW River Falls website. Next week's trek will feature Eurofin Biodiagnostic and is hosted by UW River Falls. You'll see live polling launched soon so that our employer partner can see who is in attendance today. Please complete that as you see it pop up. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce Mike Kane with Northwind Solar, located in central Wisconsin. Mike is a graduate of UW Stevens Point. I'm looking forward to hearing him speak about his industry and his organization today. We'll invite Lee to share a little bit about our poll results so that Mike knows in the audience while we are transitioning slide decks.
I think that's the right one. Does that look right?
That looks great, Mike.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much, Jackie, Lee, and Sherry for having me today and UWSP. As Jackie mentioned, I am a graduate. So before we dive into Northwind and Solar, let me talk a little bit about myself. I am a Canadian, which is why my Canada Goose here is my friend south of the border. We also have a lot here in Marshfield, where I live. I'm currently the sales manager at Northwind Solar. I just started in January, having graduated from UWSP in December. Before that, I did an internship with Northwind over the summertime, trying to get some experience and a general understanding of what goes on in selling and installing solar energy. I'm a non-traditional student and an international student. I changed careers last year from advertising and television production and decided to jump into solar. It seemed very exciting, and so far it is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about today, the solar industry in general and Northwind, and then take everybody's questions at the end. So hopefully you have a lot. Let's start off with a couple of basics about electricity and energy and power. Energy and power are often used together and to mean the same thing, but they're a little bit different. Energy being the ability to do the work, which can be measured in joules, if you remember that from high school science. And power is the rate at which that energy is being used or transferred. And that's what we measure in watts. So power is really the energy over time. We measure watts pretty consistently in the solar industry. That's how we get sizes and usage amounts. If you've ever looked at a utility bill, your kilowatt hours are that power usage over time. We typically will measure things in kilowatts in our business, but as systems grow, you may have heard of megawatt systems, even gigawatt systems at the utility level. So 1 gigawatt is effectively 1 billion watts or 1 million kilowatts or 1,000 megawatts. In the solar power, we're using the energy of the sun to create power in your house through a system of solar cells, or PV, photovoltaic cells. That's what's converting the actual solar energy into electricity. On the roof, it would come through as direct current. The things that power your everyday electronics, from a cell phone, your laptop battery, those are all direct current items. What you plug into the wall is alternating current, and that's also how we transmit power across states and across cities, and those big power lines that you see above the highway. So using the energy of the sun to power your house is a little, it seems counterintuitive sometimes when you think of the sun as heat energy, but that energy is, through the photovoltaic cells, being converted into electric energy. And what we do here at Northwind is install the equipment that does that conversion on the roof and in an inverter, which then is fed into your panel at home and goes out through your house, turns on your light bulbs, turns on your fridge. So these are some of our crew members here working on a couple jobs. At Northwind, we are a renewable energy solution provider and installer. We design the systems, we install the systems, we do residential, commercial, agricultural, even government customers. We haven't done anything at the size of a utility level just yet, but we are growing, and our commercial side this year actually has expanded quite a bit. We have been around since 2007. In 2017, we transitioned to a cooperative. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But all of our work we do in-house. So we have the electricians, the designers, they're all NABCEP certified and licensed electricians. NABCEP is an industry certification board. They're the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. In order to climb on the roof and plug those panels in, that is a certification that we require. In addition to the solar panels, we also are starting to do a lot of battery storage. That is part of what is required to transition to an electric economy overall, but it is a very important part because, as you probably all know, the sun does not shine at nighttime. And so to keep that power that you're making on the roof, energy storage is required of some sort. The grid can act like that if your solar system is feeding back into it, but on site, a battery storage option is the solution. So these are this is a basic diagram of the system we would install on a typical house. There's the solar panels collecting that sun energy. If there's a battery option, it will go into that number 2, the charge controller. It's kind of like the brain of the energy production and storage portion of this system. It decides how much energy is needed to go into the batteries and controls that flow. And if the energy needs to come out of the batteries, controls that flow as well. If there is no charge controller, it might just pass into number 4, which is an inverter. That's the piece of equipment that's going to take that direct current energy from the top of the house, from the solar panels, and convert it into alternating current, the stuff that all your appliances need at home. That can then flow right into the house or go through a utility meter and back out to the grid, where if you're not using that power at the moment, maybe your neighbors will use it because it doesn't get too far away from the house before it is required. If they're running a lot of electrical equipment, for example. Otherwise, you effectively roll your meter back. If you've ever looked at an electric meter on the side of the house, there's usually some older style dials or a digital number plate. And when you're producing solar power and not using it in your house, it is rolling those numbers backwards. And instead of paying for electricity, you also get paid from the utility company for the electricity you produce. If you want to check out something a little closer to home for UWSP students, we have actually, we now have 2 solar arrays at the Schmeeckley Reserve. We just finished installing another one, but there's a nice little public address at the bottom there where you can check out how much energy the Schmeeckley Reserve is producing at any moment. So currently, since we installed it, I want to say 2019, there's over 36,000 pounds of CO2 emissions saved and about 276 trees planted, which is kind of cool. So they're using a lot of solar on site there to power their infrastructure. This is an example, this little graph right here, if you can see it, is kind of a perfect little arc of solar production throughout the day. Starting in the morning, you can see when the sun finally starts hitting those panels, peaks around just after noon, and as the sun sets, it starts to dip in production levels. This is the ideal, though. This is what you're looking for on an array that's facing south. In the southern hemisphere, you would probably want that facing north, but for everyone in the US anyways, a south-facing array is ideal, with no blockages of trees or buildings. So that's what we do here at Northwind. We install solar panels and battery storage options. We have a slightly different outlook and operating procedures from other for-profit entities. Working in solar, it's a renewable energy. We are conscious of the world and the environment, and ultimately, we are trying to be a part of solving the global energy crisis, even in our own backyard, where we're looking to install production mechanisms for electricity to power our world instead of relying on fossil fuels. So we try to help individuals and businesses understand all the benefits of renewable energy through education and community outreach and philanthropy. And since we're a cooperative, we've dedicated ourselves personally and professionally to supporting a sustainable local economy. We invest in learning, and that's why we're so privileged to be a part of this career trek today, because ultimately that's where solutions come from, is understanding problems and figuring out how to solve them. We try to offer a lot of different educational platforms for our customers, especially. It's important to know how a solar system is operating at your home, both for safety and practical reasons, but also for the next generation. So hopefully a lot of folks out there today get inspired to join a renewable energy cause and change the world through electricity. We were not always a cooperative, however. We transitioned to a cooperative organizational setting in 2017. And it's a worker-owned cooperative. So we have a personal investment in our business, but also in every project we do. We have tried to empower our employees and allow a democratic approach to how our business operates. We think that this model doesn't just benefit the employees, but also all of our clients because of that personal investment we have in our projects. Currently, we have 12 member owners. There is certain check marks and timelines that you have to reach within the company before there's a voting process to admit new member owners. Not just every new employee gets signed up right away, but ultimately, it kind of guarantees that we'll always go that extra mile for our projects. And it is not the only one either. We're part of a group called the Amicus Network that is a national, actually international network of solar installers and providers. And they preach ethical business practices, accountability, and we all group together to learn from each other and grow as a collective of solar installers. If you want to check out a couple articles about us turning into a cooperative, there's one from Medium here, speaking directly to the amicus portion of it, and also one from everybody's favorite newspaper, The Pointer, back from 2017 when we changed our business model. Oh, frozen on this slide. There we go. So in this landscape of sustainability-related organizations, we are trying to reach a point of exactly what you see depicted here. It's an electrical economy. It's less, if not reliant on fossil fuels any longer. Renewable energies is at the core of that. We know the best way to get there is by having as many people buy into this idea as possible, and that comes through education. So we aim to be a local resource, especially in central Wisconsin, but also statewide and on a national level when we can at conferences. A local resource to be that knowledge base through our experience and also through speaking engagements such as this one. And really push for community organizers to get out there, spread the word, and so that everybody can kind of do their part, whether it be solar on your house or purchasing an EV, or even just trying to be conscious of the fact of when and where and how you're using energy produced by any method, whether it be traditional fossil fuel burning, maybe nuclear energy, a windmill in the backyard, or solar. So we're really trying to build a power backbone that would support a green energy economy. One of the exciting things that has come about recently last fall is the Inflation Reduction Act bill, which has been encouraging adoption of renewables through tax credits for all sections of renewables, both are the installing portion of it, the production of renewable energy, and also the manufacturing of the equipment used. So if you're wondering how solar is doing today, it's doing great and getting better. It is every year increased in how much has been installed and been used. This graph from the SEIA has, it's lagging a little bit. It was from 2021 and has predictions for 2022 and beyond. But this is exactly what we're seeing in the industry. One of the ways that solar energy can be more accessible, because systems that we install today, either at the residential level or the commercial level, can be cost prohibitive. So one of the ways that we're trying to find equity in access to solar energy is through community solar programs. That's the green space on these bars. And hopefully these will actually be growing in size very shortly. One of the reasons for that is there's new legislation proposed in the Wisconsin government to allow more community solar development from entities that are not just utility companies. So such as Northwind here, we would be able to work with communities to set up these community solar programs. Are also called solar gardens or solar shares, which can be purchased in the project. But that's a way for people who either can't afford a system on their own house, or maybe they have a site that isn't conducive to good solar production, if it's all shaded or just a small footprint. That's how they could access a renewable resource like the sun. There's a great website called solarpower.guide, lots of excellent visuals on how the solar industry is today and how it might be performing tomorrow. So one of the reasons solar is doing so well is that the cost of the technology has come way, way, way down compared to 1977 here in slide number 3. At $77 per watt seems absolutely outrageous today when you compare that to the actual cost of about 21 cents per watt. And even during the pandemic, we saw solar installation go up, according to the SEIA, 43%, which is surprising. And the other way we're promoting solar access is to diversify our workforce, of course. So currently there's about 250,000 jobs, across America, 25% filled by minorities, more than 25% by women, and close to 10% by veterans. If you're looking at Wisconsin specifically, we're doing quite well. It's not the snowy, cloudy, rainy state that today might have you believe, but there's almost 3,000 jobs in the state right now. These numbers are from 2021 and 2022, so a little bit higher today. But we are one of those 83 installer developers you see in the middle here. With more and more on the way. If it's currently projected to reach 4,500 megawatts of production and is currently only at 1,200. So about 3.5 times growth in the next 5 years is something quite exciting for anybody looking at getting into the industry as a job. Back to that solarpower.guide website, they have an excellent, if exhaustive, list of possible solar jobs. This excerpt here is showing a few averages. This is nationwide, not specifically in Wisconsin, but it gives you a bit of an idea of some of the roles and earning potential for people in the industry. Starting off at the initial stage of employment, if you're an installer, for example, this number is a little bit skewed high because of experience and time in the industry, as well as added manager type job requirements. But whether it be the manufacturing side or the installation side, or even just the office side, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm hoping that a few folks here might be the ones to get in and help us out. So for the solar industry in general, and at Northwind specifically in Wisconsin, we look to organizations like Midstate Technical College, which has a renewable energy technician program, as well as UWSP right in our backyard here, where I went to. I graduated with an environmental sciences associate's degree, but any discipline within the College of Natural Resources already has a great background in understanding some of the science behind what is happening in renewable energies. The Midwest Renewable Energy Association, also close partners to us, literally and figuratively. They're just up the road in Custer, Wisconsin, but they represent the entire Midwest and have fantastic training programs, including a lot of NABCEP certified courses, as well as hands-on training at their facility where you can get on a very short training roof and practice putting panels on and hooking them up, putting battery systems together, a lot of really cool stuff. And right now, well, increasingly so, but from a result of the pandemic and not being able to do in-person learning as much, there's a great selection of online courses. So if anybody is interested in that, I highly recommend it. It's convenient and very, very well taught. For people looking to stand out amongst a group of candidates, certifications are certainly helpful. Any of the NABCEP ones, the initial being the PV Associate, that's the first exam you would take. The installation professional, the technical sales professional, there's a whole other list of design and install specific certifications that they offer, all build off of the initial PV Associate certification and require both time in the field working as well as coursework and exams. That all needs to be maintained to some degree with ongoing learning and occasionally, depending on if you're trying to upgrade a certification, extra hands-on examination. Experience is always a plus, especially in any sorts of trade work, whether it be family members' construction company or just doing some work around the house. That is certainly helpful for anybody looking to be an installer. Power tools are often used, as well as safety equipment both on and off the roof. And a good attitude is one of the most important things. It goes a long way in any workplace, but especially in solar, where people are sunshiny happy every darn day. That kind of leads into the hard and soft skills of what an organization like Northwind would be looking for. Hard skills are always great. If you've had experience installing before, that is certainly helpful. But those soft skills are really what will take somebody a long way in any industry, but especially in a renewable energy industry. Ultimately, your personality, the way you work in a team, the way you communicate, and the way you problem solve are what are going to help you grow as well as succeed in a group environment. So at Northwind, as a worker-owned cooperative, we really put a lot of emphasis on the group work and task management within a team. It is important to everybody that we can work together very well because we're all invested, literally and figuratively, in the business success. So that translates to a personal success for all of us. We have lifelong learning opportunities as well that we encourage and support and offer money and time towards, because we want our employees and our co-op members to succeed outside of work as well. I mean, we do try to strike a proper work-life balance where the work is important, but so are the people doing it. And when we recruit and interview people, those are the types of questions that usually mean the most. The personality questions are not to trip you up or discover what type of animal you'd like to be and why. It is to get a sense of how you look at yourself and interact within a group. So while we do have contacts at trade schools, event networking is a really important part of that. On one of my maybe the next slide here, there's a great event nationally recognized in the renewable energy sector as being one of the best and maybe the most fun energy fair every June through the MREA at their campus. That is an excellent place to meet people, both in solar, we'll be there, of course, and other types of renewable industries. When we get down to the in-person or virtual face-to-face interviews, we generally have a good idea of somebody's hard skills and their past experiences. So we're always looking to see how they can contribute to the group atmosphere we've already built and want to maintain as we grow. As I mentioned, the Energy Fair, if anybody is interested in solar or renewables or just having a good time with some music and food, it's coming up again this June. I think it's the last weekend of June, the 23rd to 25th. That's in Custer, Wisconsin at the MREA campus, so you can even see all the cool training facilities they have. Please do come out. It's a lot of fun. So with that, I'd like to wrap things up a little bit and take any questions folks might have.
Thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, I'll invite students to share their questions either in chat, or you can raise your hand and we will invite you to unmute and ask your question. Mike, while students are reflecting on their questions for you, I want to express my gratitude and share some information about who's with us today. So several of them, not all of them, filled out a poll. We know that they are mostly from UW-Stevens Point, some also from Stout, and mostly sophomores and juniors today with us.
Sounds good. All right. Any other non-trad students around? Any international students? Maybe it's just me.
Great question. Not something we poll about, but folks are welcome to unmute, share their screens, wave, throw something in the chat if you meet any of those criteria, like Mike.
Well, maybe actually, Jackie, if you don't mind me asking you personally, since you were looking at a solar system for your house, do you have any questions on how it works?
Oh boy. So I took a 20-hour class with Jenny, your electrician, and then
Oh,
did
wow.
lots of quizzes to help me understand the mechanisms. And then I bug Woody with all sorts of, questions about best products and inverters and things like this. I can't think of questions about how it works. Something that I perceive in the region is that it's seen as sort of a luxury item, like a really fancy car. And I'll say that on my personal home, it's going to, if I finance it, cost me about as much as my electric bill and contribute to me not burning fossil fuels. So that feels really exciting to me and something that I'm not sure that everyone in the public would assume.
That's right. Actually, that's a very good way to look at it. The Inflation Reduction Act boosted the tax credit that folks can get now to 30% of the total cost of a project, which is quite appealing. And I wish I had waited just a little bit longer to put solar on my house. So I could have taken advantage of that. But there's also in-state incentives from Focus on Energy.
That's it.
A great website for any homeowners to check out. There's not just solar there. There's a lot of ways to turn your house into a more efficient dwelling from every aspect, from the windows to the heating to solar panels on the roof. And another great state resource is Renew Wisconsin. If anybody wants to check that out, they do great research and they have a lot of good facts and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Any questions from students in attendance today for Mike? A lot of you are UW-Stevens Point students. You might be studying or thinking about a career in renewable energy. We've got someone with us today who made that transition from a different area of industry in a purposeful and thoughtful way recently, and he's paying his bills with work that aligns with his values. Anyone think of any questions for Mike today?
I will say I did have my sights set on solar when I went into school. So I already had a bit of a path decided on, and it did help me get there in the end. For anybody interested as well, I was a bit of an anomaly at Northwind. They don't normally take on interns, but because I expressed interest on my own, they were happy to bring me into the fold and really teach me a lot hands-on in the office over the summertime. And actually, I think my second day with them was at last year's energy fair. So not only was it fun to go, but I kind of got thrown into the mix right away to talk to customers and folks attending the fair and try to answer as many questions. I feel like I actually may have learned as much as the folks asking questions that day.
Well, but you make a great point that we convey to our students, but I'll reiterate that so many positions are not posted in public facing arenas like Handshake, which is where we say students can look for jobs and internships. The fact that you networked your way into an internship initially and then a professional ownership shared job is a great demonstration of what we describe as that hidden job market of, oh, we've got more work than we can handle in that area, but we haven't quite found the motivation to write a position description and post something and get HR on interviewing and looking through those applications. Oh, but here's Mike and he's capable and available, and let's just skip ahead to grabbing him, right? That's what that looks like for so many of our students who are well connected and advocating for themselves and building relationships. So you're such a great model of that.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it wasn't advertised on the website when I initially checked it out. Currently on the northwindre.com website, we have a job posting for Photon Tech, which is an installer position. In the future, we'll have other positions pop up there as we grow. We're growing pretty quick at the moment, so you can keep an eye on that. But we're always looking for more installers, people who want to get out, get some sunshine for themselves as well on a rooftop and on the ground mount systems. But yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I wasn't a shy undergrad, but I understand that some of our undergrads are a little bit shy. And so perhaps, Mike, if they had questions after today, what would be the best way to reach out either to yourself or your organization? Are you on LinkedIn? Would you prefer a call to the main line?
We love answering the phones. I do that quite a bit. We take a lot of questions from potential customers or just curious folks. Solar can be a bit complicating and daunting. I understand that. And there's a lot of myths out there about getting rid of your electricity bill or going off grid. And there's a lot of information we can provide to folks. So they can check out our website, send us an email, make a request for an estimate if they're curious about what it would cost to put on their own homes or their parents' places or even the place they rent. And yeah, give us a call too.
Mike, thank you again for joining us today. This recording will go alongside recordings of other conversations like this on the UW River Falls Career Treks website. I'm going to go ahead and pop that URL in the chat for folks if you want to check out recordings of other treks. Again, next week, Tuesday, 2 o'clock, UW River Falls will be hosting Eurofin Biodiagnostic. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much.